Hi, I'd like to give you a few tips here on seed germination. Something that's fairly straightforward, but if not done correctly, it can mean the difference between good seed germination and not so good seed germination. First thing is probably one of the most important aspects of seed germination is the seed starting mix. This needs to be a bona fide seed starting mix, not something that says all-purpose, for house plants, potting, and so forth. Something that's specifically for seed germination. I'm using the Jiffy natural and organic seed starting mix, professional greenhouse quality mix, Premier Pro Mix, Bacto, Sunshine. They all make good germination mixes as well. You can buy those in bulk, or sometimes in smaller containers like this one here. And the important reason we use this seed germination mix is it's a non-soil mix. We don't want to bring in soil from from the garden, even if it does seem kind of loose. When it gets inside where it's warm, it'll harden. There's clay particles in there that we probably can't even see. It'll harden. Plus, it's not necessarily a sanitary mix. Could have disease organisms that kind of come to life when it's in a warm environment. So what we're using here is a mixture of perlite, vermiculite, and peat moss. I'm going to add a little water to it. Generally speaking, we want to add 1 part water to 3 parts mix. When I worked in a greenhouse, commercial greenhouse, we used to go 1 5-gallon bucket of water to 3 5-gallon buckets of seed starting mix, for our larger seed starting operations. So what we want to do is just to get this moist but not soupy. It's really important to do this before we sow the seed. If not, what's going to happen if you water it later after you've sown the seed, it's going to float around. This mix will float around, and so will your seeds, and that's not a good thing. So we mix this up with our hand, and I don't know if you can see that, but it'll form a ball in my hand, and that's a little bit on the wet side, so I'm going to add a little bit of mix to this. We don't want it to be soupy. That was a little bit soupy there. So all I need to do is just add a little more mix and get it moist all the way through. As you can see, I have my jacket on tonight. It's April 7th here in the Upper Peninsula, Michigan. We still have about a foot of snow outside. I planted my tomatoes and peppers about a week ago. Tonight I'm just going to do some cauliflower seeds, one that's appropriately called snow crown. A little bit early maybe for the cauliflower planting, but I think we'll be okay. Just something kind of fun to do. So I'm going to take and fill this container here. And as you can see, it's a shallow container. This doesn't need to be very deep. All we're doing is germinating the seed and then plucking them out after they've developed a little bit of root. And we're going to firm this mixture in here. Not pack it, but just kind of firm it in. And then we'll take our cauliflower seeds. We'll spread them around. I like using this kind of a container here because I can put 30 or 40 seeds in there compared to something like this where you can only do about a dozen. These are nice if you're just doing a few tomato plants or something. These little pucks in here is really the same thing as this. It's just that these are condensed. You add a little warm water to them, they'll enlarge. You can put a couple of seeds in there and put this cover on and put it in a warm place to germinate. But So what I've done here is, these are kind of tiny seeds. I'm just going to spread them around and then press them in a little bit. We want good contact with that germination mix. We're going to put, of course we always want to read the label on the packet to see how much mix to cover. Some seeds actually, like geraniums, you don't cover at all. But these, we just put a little bit of mix over top, firm it in, but not overly so. Just make sure they're covered good. And then what's important now is to have this on some kind of a heat source that comes from the bottom, preferably. I know a lot of people like to, take this and put it in their window, and if you're kind of serious about doing this, especially if you're doing a lot, you really need to find a source of bottom heat, and you don't need much heat, just a little bit on the bottom. It needs to be consistent. The problem with the window is that it might get kind of warm during the day, sun comes out, it might not come out. Nighttime, of course, it's cooler, it's by that window, so I stay away from the windows altogether. And over the years I've tried some different things. I've tried, you read things in books and that, and I tried the one method where you put this over a hot water heater tank. Didn't work out too bad, except that was just a little bit too warm, plus there's not a whole lot of room on top of that tank. The other one was to put this cookie sheet over the pilots of a stove, a gas stove. That actually works pretty good. The only thing is do you want these things on your kitchen stove? Kind of makes it hard to cook and stuff. So eventually I broke down and I bought one of these heat mat. This is from a company called Hydro Farm. You see these a lot in different seed catalogs. 50 or 60 bucks for one of those, 50 bucks for a timer. Instead of using a timer, I have found that to set these on these directly was a little bit too warm. This mix dried out a little bit too quick, and that's something you don't want to happen. You don't want this to ever dry out during that germination phase, because it's going to pretty much interrupt that germination, and you're not going to get good germination. So what I did was I put this cookie sheet over here, over top of it, and that provides, just enough protection, I guess, from that direct heat, and works out just fine. Like I say, we want to keep this moist, so the other aspect of this is to get this covered, and what I've done here, I'll show you. That works really well. I can put 6 of these in here in one of these flats like this. Cover this up with this dome. It keeps that moisture in, and like I say, we want to keep these moist at all times. And even despite having that, I also each day I take a spray bottle and spritz that real good. Do that on a daily basis. It's easy to forget, and go a couple of days, and then you've got some problems. So this has worked out real well, and I get pretty good germination. You're only going to get as good germination as they recommend or they say on the packet. So normally I can get, with this operation, 70-80%. And that's doing pretty good, I think. So so in this next part, it's going to be a part 2 to this. I'll show you the lighting situation and the changing water and fertility needs, after this germinates. I'll also show you, plucking them out, or pricking them out, as we used to say in the commercial greenhouse I worked in, into a bigger container. And like I say, the watering needs will change a little bit, so I'll show you that. So thanks for watching, and hopefully you'll tune in to part 2.